Hi everyone. So um, so I'm going to talk about the browser security. So this is a topic for the lab for this week. So this lab is created by me, Karsuk Satra, and Yi Xiu Gao. So first, I want to talk about the outline. What I'm gonna explain. I will introduce the XSS. What is the XSS script? What is XSS attack and how it works and how do we prevent from these attacks? And next, I'm going to introduce the sandbox. I'm going to explain what the sandbox is and explain why it's very important in terms of security in a web browser. And then, lastly, I'll introduce the privacy features in the web browsers that we generally use. So let's start with XSS. This XSS is an abbreviation of cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting. So this attack is really dangerous and hard to detect. It is injection is similar to SQL injection, but this attack doesn't focus on SQL. It's focused on JavaScript and HTML tags. So this attack has two types: the permanent and not permanent. The permanent one, the attacker will inject a script into the web application database by the comment boxes on the web page. So when a user try to open this web page, this web application will query and and take and get the JavaScript, the malicious script from the database and show up on the web page. And maybe it doesn't show up, it just the JavaScript, right? It doesn't show on the web browser, but it runs on the web browser. So if it's malicious, you might lose some privacy, your cookies, your location, and many things that is in your cookies on your information on the browsers. Another one is not permanent. This script you can see on the URL. This one, when the user open this URL, the browser will run this script and its behavior is just the same like the permanent one, but it's not in the database, but it's on URL. The get method. This attack can happen when the web application doesn't sanitize or validate the input. For example, the input from the search boxes or the input from the in the form or in the comment boxes, for instances. Let's see this example. Okay, first, this is the behavior of the attacker. So the attackers can just send the message or email containing the malicious URL to the victim, which is the user. And then the user open this URL to open the web page. And then the browser will run the malicious script automatically. And so the web page will and this malicious script might send some information to the attackers. This is how it works. Okay, but can we prevent yourself from these attacks, or can web browser protect us? Can web browser protect us from this attack? Actually, this let's see this example of the malicious URL. So this is the URL, the web page, and this is the get method, which is the query of JavaScript it might be malicious or might not be malicious. Okay, so this is just the script that this is for redirecting to this website. If this website is not malicious, so you're good. But if it is, you're gonna get a problem. This website might give you some viruses or might retrieve some information from your web browser. Okay, let's talk about the browsers. Can the browser protect us? Actually, in fact, Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome once had this protection. It's called XSS Filter and XSS Auditor, respectively. But XSS Filter is retired in July 2018, and XSS Auditor is disabled from the Google Chrome on August 2019, and Firefox doesn't have this protection at all. Why they disable the filters and why Firefox doesn't implement this protection? There's a reason. Since XSS script, the malicious script, is not so different to the normal JavaScript. It's just a script, and this JavaScript is a language that is very flexible. You can write this code in many forms or in many ways to achieve the same goal. That's why it's very flexible and it's very hard to detect it as a malicious code. So sometimes the browser blocks some good script, which is called false positive, and it has a high rate of false positive, which annoy the users a lot because it prevents the users from accessing the good script or a very useful script. That's why Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome disable this feature. Alright, the false positives. And also it doesn't protect all the cross-site script attacks. Still some attacks remaining in the browser that they cannot detect it. Okay? So the next one is a sandboxing. So what is sandboxing? This technique is to isolate the programs or restrict the program, the piece of code, like by giving the permission that it needs. Give as many permissions as it needs. So why we have to do that? Because what if this program is malicious? Without sandbox, it can compromise your whole system easily. But with the sandboxing technique, this malicious program can just do the damage inside this sandbox with only these permissions. Okay. So the example is, so the web browsers utilize this technique to provide security for the users, which means that it can protect the users by sandboxing the web pages, and a tab in the web browser also is sandboxed, which means that a tab, whatever happens in the tab, it will not affect the other tabs in the web browsers. Okay, this is how sandboxing is applied in the web browsers. So for example, if a web page wants to access your webcam, first, it doesn't have a permission to access the webcam. So the first thing that it can do is to ask you for permission. If you really no, this is my privacy, I need to preserve it. You're not gonna say okay, let it, allow it. You just deny this request, right? This is how it protects. And it can be used for protecting accesses, since the JavaScript will not access a lot of things on your system if it's sandboxed in the web browsers. Okay, Google Chrome and Internet Explorer run the sandboxes by itself by default, but the Firefox doesn't run the sandbox. The last thing, there are other features in the web browsers that I want to explain. So first, Google Chrome has a feature that block the third-party cookies, and then you can download or install the extensions. For example, cookie auto delete, so that XSS script cannot like it can, but the cookie the cookies are already deleted, so XSS will have nothing to retrieve. Privacy badger and HTTPS everywhere, so which means that you cannot access the website, the HTTP, which use HTTP, only HTTPS. Okay, next one, Microsoft Edge. This one has an option to keep the privacy and block the tracking. It will block anything that track your locations. It's option. So it's all what I have explained is all options. So you can choose to apply it or choose not to apply it. And the last one is Firefox. Firefox is the safest among these three browsers. So it's block the trackers in the private windows. What's a private windows? It's an incognito. It's like incognito in Google Chrome. That, yeah, and then the third party cannot track the cookies and crypto miners. And then it also blocks the fingerprints and the tracker in our window. So these are the options that you can choose, because in Firefox there are three levels of security. The first one is standard, the second one is very high security, and the last one is custom. So you can choose which one you want enable, which one you want disabled. You can choose it in Firefox. But it's really surprising, like the most popular browsers in the world, like Google Chrome, Firefox, or Microsoft Edge, are not safe. It's not in the list of top 10 safest browsers. The top 10 safest browsers are like not popular browsers, like yeah, something that we don't really use it. Okay, so these are the features, these are the about the browser security, and these is references. If you want to know something in detail, you can access these URLs, and I make sure that there's no XSS script in these URLs. All right. Another thing, XSS attacks. This attack, when this attack happens, it's not the user's fault, but it is the web application fault. That's why the web browser just give this job, this responsibility to the web application to protect their users. Okay, thank you.